front of the class.
Oh, yes, sir.
Title if you guys are ready.
Yep.
Apparently we're all set. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. We'll start the meeting. Welcome to the June 14th, 2022 Town of Elon Town Council regular meeting. So we'll now stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And would you please read the items on the consent agenda?
Yes, letter A, acceptance of NCDOT residual part, residential. What is it?
Residual.
Residual, I was right.
Residuals, yeah.
I'm working with one eye here, but just saying parcels. And letter B, annexation petition for GPIN 8856921425. Letter C, fiscal year 22 audit services agreement. And letter D, fiscal year 22 financial report services agreement.
Any questions or comments from board members on those items? Do we have a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
For Kim. Second.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Public comments. Are there any citizens here online that wish to make any comments to the council? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public comment section. The next section is proclamations, and Mayor Sharp has introduced a couple of proclamations for the month of June that were applicable to Pride Month and Juneteenth. So I'm going to read the proclamations that she put together. The first one is the LGBTQIA Pride Month 2022. Whereas lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex, asexual Pride Month is celebrated nationwide each year in the month of June. And whereas this month was chosen to commemorate the events that took place at the Stonewall Inn in Manhattan, New York on June 28, 1969, and is often viewed as the beginning of the modern LGBTQIA rights movement. And whereas it is important during this month to take the time to reflect on the LGBTQIA rights movement, and whereas LGBTQIA people in the United States, the state of North Carolina, and the town of Elon have made and continue to make vital contributions to the world in every aspect. And whereas LGBTQIA Americans have achieved significant milestones, including employment protection and protection from discrimination based on sex, ensuring that future generations of people in the United States will enjoy a more equal and just society. And whereas business owned in whole or in part by LGBTQIA individuals touch all parts of the state and local economy, providing vital goods and services to Elon residents and visitors. And whereas despite this extraordinary process, LGBTQIA Americans still face discrimination simply for being who they are. And whereas the state of North Carolina and the town of Elon stand with LGBTQIA community in the struggle to ensure equal treatment for all and to advocate for LGBTQI rights as human rights. And whereas the town of Elon will continue to advocate for protections for all LGBTQIA individuals to make our town a place where all people, regardless of their sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression, are treated with dignity and respect. Now, therefore, I, not me, but Emily Sharp, Mayor of the town of Elon, do hereby proclaim June 2022 as LGBTQI Pride Month. That's the first proclamation. Our second proclamation is commemorating Juneteenth as a national holiday. Whereas the Emancipation Proclamation Executive Order issued on January 1st, 1863 by President Abraham Lincoln immediately freed approximately 500,000 from generational bondage, but still left 3.5 million enslaved across the United States. And whereas Juneteenth is the oldest known celebration commemorating the ending of slavery in the United States, when Union soldiers led by Major General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas to announce the war had ended, freeing the enslaved. And whereas 2022 was the 157th anniversary of Juneteenth Day, a national recognized day which commemorates June 19th, 1865 is the observance of African American Emancipation Day of Freedom. And whereas Juneteenth is a time to cultivate the true spirit of freedom and remember our ancestors as men and women who bravely acted as catalysts for change. And whereas on February 14th, 2022, regular meeting, the Elon Board of Aldermen approved Juneteenth as an additional paid holiday for all town of Elon full staff employees or full-time employees. Whereas for calendar year June 2022, the holiday will be observed Monday, June 20th, because June 19th is on a Sunday. Now, therefore, I, again, Mayor Emily Sharp and Town Council do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2022 as Juneteenth Day and encourage citizens to recognize and commemorate Juneteenth, which honors the history, legacy, and culture of African Americans throughout the United States of America by participating in celebrations and festivities during the month of June. Anyone have any comments on that? A lot of reading there.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think actually, Elon, may be wrong, but I think Elon is the only municipality in Alamance to proclaim Pride Month of the month of June. So I think that's a step forward to, especially with our resolution that we put together. So I appreciate Emily doing that. And then Juneteenth, we all voted to make it a national holiday. So I think it's appropriate for the proclamation that Mayor Sharp did.
Any other comments?
Second, what? Chair, I'm very excited and glad to have
Going forward, ordinances and resolutions. Letter A, resolution directing the town clerk to investigate a petition for annexation of GPIN number 885-692-1425. Rich or Diane? I guess Diane.
I'm here, I'll speak.
You can introduce you. Carrie.
I was hiding.
Okay, sorry about that.
Hiding back there. No, it's okay. It's easier to stand. This is the property for which, the first property that you changed your water sewer hookup policy for, where the applicant has to request a petition for annexation. And in the review of the petition, in order to follow the state law, annexation law, we're doing it so that the petition can be reviewed, and at that time, it will be decided if it's sufficient or not. And in this case, what the outcome is going to be.
And by reference, this is the petition under the consent agreement you accepted.
Any comments or questions before? Councilman?
So we are annexing it as part of our town, city town limits, right?
This applicant has requested annexation. We are actually going to answer him by saying you don't qualify to annex, therefore we can impose our policy to supply sewer. But this is sort of an abundance of caution on my part to do at least this first part of it, but we won't go to hearing or the other parts. We'll just do the resolution that I accept this petition, and it gives Diane and I an opportunity to formally write why it doesn't qualify. And then it doesn't need to come back to you unless you want it to. She could
come back to report that finding, I suppose. Typically, she would come back to say, yes, it's good, and then you would schedule a public hearing. So perhaps we'll have her come back and say, you do not need to schedule a public hearing.
And the reason it doesn't work is because this is part of a subdivision. And under state statute, the entire subdivision would have to be annexed, not just a single parcel out of it. So
That'd be called spot annexation. Spot zoning.
No, it's more like a satellite,
Yeah.
and there's rules for
That's what
how
I
how
wondered
close
how-
a satellite annexation can be. That one is more about the subdivision, its relationship to the subdivision that it's in.
On the pre-works, I think we're in good shape. so.
Questions? We have a motion to approve.
I move that.
Second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Letter B, FY 23 budget ordinance, fee schedule and assignment of grades to classes.
Some changes since you last saw this. We've obviously held the public hearing. And our health insurance has come in lower than what we had anticipated. So we've been able to reduce the total of the budget for that. We also received a donation that would allow us to get a commitment for donation in next year's budget to help us with the West College Plaza. We've had part of that donation come in this year so we can start the design process, which is, we've already started that. So we've made those adjustments. Last meeting, you amended this year's budget, so I've changed next year's for that reduction of $30,000. We updated the fee schedule for the container costs for solid waste recycling collection. Because the contract was based on a single container at each household, or each residence, if you will, for solid waste and for recycling, we do have customers who have multiple containers who they've requested them in the past. So we've had to establish new fees for what those extra containers would cost. So that's in there. So if somebody wants an additional garbage container, it would be $11, which is the per month cost that we're being charged. And if they want a recycling bin, it's $7, which is the cost we're being charged. The classes to grades table, all of our essentially our pay plan has been amended to include the HR payroll position that we had planned to do an HR position next year. Doing it now, obviously with the change in the finance department of promoting Kathy Barham to ARM. I keep adding a syllable in there.
Call me Cinderella.
Interim finance director, so we're in the process of advertising for that HR payroll position now. So we've amended the pay plan for that position. And as a reminder, the budget includes a 2% cost of living adjustment for all permanent regular positions, including part-time. It also includes a 2% bonus to assist with the cost of living. And the plan is to pay that out on a paycheck by paycheck basis over the fiscal year. And again, that would go to all permanent, full and part-time employees. So those are the changes that have been made since you've seen it. Be happy to answer any questions you may have about the budget or anything else on it.
One question I had is the reason for converting to classes to grades to be consistent with state municipalities, or just what's different?
We adopt it every year. So this is, and I just had to add that new position in. That's the change that you've got. When we did our pay plan back in, I think it was 2019, if I'm correct. This is the document that we created. It's a term of art. It essentially is our pay plan. It lists all the potential, all the positions we have, what pay grade they're in. So it tells us what our pay ranges are for every position.
I just had a quick question, and I think you probably answered it, but I just want to make sure I have it straight in my head. The fee schedule for the cost of the containers, is that just for the container, or is that the monthly fee for picking up the extra container as well?
That's our monthly cost to have the container picked up every month. So it's $11 a month is what the extra fee would be, or $7 a month.
Thank you.
Who's just like those folks who have multiple cans now? The assumption is you're gonna roll those over and give them multiple cans, or do they have to apply and request since we're changing vendors?
I think we've identified them. And it gets tricky because like with recycling, the way it's been, oh, you want an extra container, that's $25. They pay the $25, they get an extra bin, and we never see it again. So some of the record keeping is not as up to date perhaps as we would hope it would be. But as we're collecting all of the garbage cans, everybody's gonna get one. So if somebody wants a second garbage can, they're gonna have to call and request it, and then that new fee will kick in.
Other questions? A motion to approve letter B,
I'll make a motion to approve.
And that's the budget ordinance, the fee schedule, and the.
yes, I'm sorry. Second,
I second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carries. New business, appointment of town attorney.
As you will recall, we had just received correspondence from our town attorney, Joe Kalo, that because of having relocated back to Chapel Hill, serving locally was not as convenient as it was when he lived in Burlington. So he let us know that he was going to be done at the end of May, extended as long as we needed to find a new attorney. We advertised, we received 3 proposals. They're summarized in your packet. And recent meeting appointed Counselor Allison and Counselor Borland to sit with staff to go over the proposals and interview the firms that we chose to interview. We received 3 proposals. We interviewed all 3. And on behalf of the committee, recommending Robert Hageman from Pointer Spruill. You'll all remember Bob Hageman was the one who came in at the last minute to help us as we were dealing with the Aspen Avenue situation. So that's, you've all met him briefly. And I checked references and supposed to, and I think the best comment that I can leave you with on checking the references was freaking awesome. Freaking amazing.
That says it all.
That says it all, yes. Pointer Spruill has a local government division, includes government, land use, and education. We also have a separate division that deals with employment and benefits. We have a separate division that deals with litigation. Not that we've seen any, but since I've been here anyway. But it's a well-staffed firm, has all the specialties that generally speaking we would need. There are some oddball things such as bond counsel and maybe something else that, pop up, but that we would look to an addition to someone else to work on that, because that's such a specialized field. Bob was city attorney for the city of Charlotte for 7 years, and it was 10 years prior to that. He worked for the city of Charlotte in their legal staff. He recently left and joined Pointer Spruill to help lead this government land use education division in that firm. So highly recommended. Very, very sharp when it comes to the various issues that municipalities deal with. Has a long history here in North Carolina, and I think everybody felt very comfortable with what he was going to bring to the table for us.
Questions or comments?
I'd like to add, I think all three of those candidates could have done the job. They all were capable, and competent. And we had some good discussion about pros and cons of each of those. And I think this, our recommendation is based on a couple of things, experience and as well as availability. And Chapel Hills, it's a 30-minute drive for him. If he chooses, or if we choose to have him here participate in our meetings, and I think that was a selling point. But I was impressed with what he's done in his past, and what you experienced in that brief meeting we had. You had an opportunity to meet him, so not that it had a soul bearing on him, but I think that was important to see the questions he answered and how he answered were really were important.
I may not have looked at it. I'm just, a question has arisen and I don't remember cross-checking it when I did the reading. But because we're able to do online, if the attorney had ever needed to sit in online, would he charge the exact same fee, just minus a travel fee? Is that how it would work?
This would be his hourly rate, yeah.
Okay. I thought that's something that could be convenient, at least in this environment, if you need to be. So,
Absolutely, yeah. And we have had meetings, I can think of where we've had an attorney call in. I know, I recall an executive session, we had, I don't remember the topic, but he was able to call in via phone and that's legit, and that worked just fine. So yeah, that's something
I
that,
just wanted to make sure. I thought that was probably the case.
and I don't know if there's any other comments in that, when you're done, one more thing I just want to add in, but I'll wait for you folks.
I just wanted to add in how much I enjoyed working with Monty and the rest of the staff on the committee. The fact that I feel like we really thoroughly went through the process. We had points, we had questions laid out where it was really a fair process. I felt that Rich and everybody participated in and really wanted to find the best person and firm for the town going forward. And as Monty said, all of them were obviously very well educated and could do the job, but I think Bob is going to be a really good fit for Elon. So thank you for all the time from the staff for helping to prepare and get the interviews and everything set up. So
I have invited Bob to our workshop at the end of June. So not for any specific topic, although there might be by then, we'll see. Mainly to have an opportunity to have kind of an informal conversation, get to know him a little bit better. And as I think I put in there, some of his, what he sees are some of the major do's and don'ts for elected officials, for other boards. Just, like you said, an opportunity to get to know him a little bit before we have him here for a real important reason. So I think that'll work out well, and I think it'll be a good match.
We have a motion to approve the appointment of our new town attorney. Second. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Town manager's report.
I guess the only thing I will say is the Music to Dine To is done for most of the summer. We pick up again, I believe it's August 19th. I know Jill and our volunteer booker are putting together acts starting on August 19th, and we run through, I think, like the third week in October. So we had a really good season in the spring. Last year was the first year we had on a regular basis. And from our perspective, attendance was up. Most nights we had at least 40, 50 people there, sometimes as many as 70 or 80. So a little hard to count because people come in and leave and come in, but I think we're starting to develop that niche of Fridays. Still run into people who are, come to a show and we say, hey, we'll see you next week. Oh, you do this every week? Yep, come back next weekend, next Friday. So that's gone very well. Tuesday, the 21st, Obviously, as you already announced, we're closed on Monday, the 20th, Tuesday, the 21st. Landon Massey will start as our new fire chief. And I think everybody's looking forward to that. And the following Monday, the 27th, Oakley will be beginning her tenure as our planning director. And I know everybody's looking forward to that. So with that, with those two starting in the next week or two, all of our department head positions will be filled. I know I'm looking forward to that. So I think we're making some good progress. Obviously, we filled the town attorney position tonight as well. So we're making some good progress. And anything else to add to it for a report tonight?
We'll start with Randy tonight. Comments?
The last, since we've met last, one of the things I've been doing a lot was trying to get the word out about our sustainability committee. And I now have 2 applicants, although only one has actually filled out the application. But the second one should be sending in. And my hope is that as we clarify how many we need to really get off the ground, my hope is that we can get this committee started soon. And some of the folks that are coming on board already have are bringing some ideas. And I've had sit downs with a few folks and things like that. They wanted to know what they thought, was going to be addressed and that kind of thing. So I'm very, very hopeful that we can move forward with that committee as soon as possible. I'm equally excited about the equity committee, but I haven't been working directly on that. I hope that if it might need to be something that we might need to be thinking about, like how we might try to recruit. That city staff or town staff can't always have time to do that, but maybe some of us could. So anyway, that's my report for today, and I'm just glad that we've been able to, with all the changes that we've been going through, that we've been able to do such an effective job. And I really thank Rich, and I thank all of our folks for doing a really good job of putting this together. And, excited to hear about Kathy. So to hear that. So I've been working with her as treasurer, and so I think that sometimes the way you shared it was a really a neat thing. I just felt that was something we need to lift up. So thank you. That's my report.
Good. Yeah, and echo what Randy shared. Glad to have you, Kathy, take on this responsibility, and looking forward to seeing you take on this challenge.
Thank you.
Give us some relief to Rich. One thing I did want to ask a question about, and I mentioned this to you, Rich, and to Kelly about a couple weeks ago, and it has to do with events that are hosted in our town. And I noticed it was like 3 weekends ago, the university hosted, I guess, a graduation services. I think it was for local high schools. And it did raise the question is that, normally when football games were in us, there is abundance of security and police out there. And in light of what we've seen recently with large crowds and people in unfamiliar places, I was a little concerned that night when I came in from the northern part, that there were abundance of people walking on the sidewalks and the street, crossing the street. I saw a few law enforcement officers. Then I learned later that we didn't know about that. And that was kind of disturbing, is that with 1,000 or so visitors come to our town, we should be made aware of that. So that these are our first responders are aware of it, staff is aware of it, our merchants are aware of it. But we do a good job of announcing a lot of things to our town. That would have been one that would have probably been a good thing to have done. So I don't know if there's permits required. I don't think we do that for football games or basketball games because they manage that. But there were a lot of people that looked like they were just wandering, looking around, trying to get to where they had to get. So.
And just to address that a little bit, we've had a whole slew of conversations internally and with the university about what we call special event permits and when they're needed, when they're not needed. And with respect to the university and other venues, what we've determined is that if somebody is holding an event in a facility that was designed for events, the football stadium, they're having a football game, we're not going to tell them they have to get a permit, because that was essentially done when they were approved. Same thing with Shar Center, when you're doing something there, we're not looking to get a special permit every time they do something at Shar Center. We did work out an arrangement with the university that they, on a monthly basis or every other month, they were sending us a list of all their major events. All their events. And there's more than like 4,000, 4,500 a year that they have on campus. Through some changes in personnel at the university, we had April and May. We didn't get one. We hadn't gotten one for June, July, because the person was doing it left. Somebody else took it, and I think it just fell through the cracks. The event you're talking about was actually ACC graduation. We had heard some different thoughts about what it was. And that was a communication breakdown between the university and the town, EUPD and EPD as to what was happening. As with all the events at the university, they are responsible for security. They bring in police officers from different departments to direct traffic and everything else. And so, like I said, that was a breakdown in communication, plain and simple, that we were not aware of it in any kind of a formal manner. I don't know if we had any officers who had been contacted who signed up for duty, but it didn't come through the formal channel of, hey, we have an event, we're anticipating 1,000 people or 500 people, whatever it turned out to be. So that's what happened.
Yeah, and I'm not advocating that their permit should have been required. I think it's just, and not to fault the university because it was a human error, but just as a courtesy, we just need to tell you and our staff so that you can be aware, so that those things are planned for. And that was my point. It kind of caught me by surprise. I'm like, where? And I think the following week, this past weekend,
Western.
you were notified, high school, right, about that.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, one of the things that happened was, I think their chief thought sending over a request for extra assistance or extra duty suffice of an official notice. Well, I don't get those because I don't work extra duty. And what happened was, pretty much as soon as that came in, they rescinded it because they realized they didn't need anybody. So it never got pushed out to anybody in our agency because they didn't need us. We've had a conversation about, Rich and I had a conversation. I had a conversation with their chief about just on those events, because he said, I wasn't even here. It wasn't, we weren't expecting a lot of folks. Just sending over some sort of operational plan, how they plan on mitigating that, so we're aware of it and we can make those notifications. And that's all it was. I think it was just an internal, I thought that would suffice. It really doesn't, because it internally, it doesn't work for us, so.
Well, we're here in June. I'm glad to be in the town. Excuse me, be in the town, and now it's Proclaim Pride Month. That's something I'm passionate about, and I think we have constituents that are the same. Tomorrow, we're meeting. The Arts Committee is meeting for the first time in a couple weeks. It'll be the first time with the Arts Committee meeting with Jill. So we'll be able to hopefully move forward and get something in the town that's colorful and artistic and creative to help push that vision as we continue to invest into downtown. Rich, I want to echo what you're saying with the music down too. They're awesome. I've enjoyed them. I really do think we have had an uptick, and I think we are getting that niche. So I think that we're going to be happy. We're still going to see a crew out there on hot summer days, but come that fall time, I think that's going to be a thing that's going to bring people around. And then to Randy's point, like Mr. Shaw, thank you for coming to tonight. But I as well would like to try to see what we can do with our committees, so we don't have members who are of the public who are ready to volunteer show up and we just don't do anything. And I think, Diane, you said there was a couple applicants that came through, two applicants that have came through already. So I think we're moving in the right direction. And with the trash can, so I pushed out on our social media that, where TFL is picking up and doing that, push that. Is that this week?
GFL will be dropping off new containers this week, starting this week. What we've been telling people, continue to use the old containers. On June 28th, that will be the last pickup by Republic. They will come and dump. They'll have a second vehicle that's coming around starting to collect them. So we're trying to reach out to our absentee landlords who have empty homes perhaps for the summer that arrangements, because we're not going on behind houses to go find containers, and neither is Republic. So we're gonna be working with them to try and get them to make arrangements to get stuff pulled out to the curb, even if it's empty. That's the key, is it needs to be there and then it'll go away. New ones will be delivered first week. Now, starting July 1, we'll be switching over to GFL. Fortunately and unfortunately, Monday is a holiday, it's 4th of July, which is going to shift everything, solid waste collection. So that first week in July, garbage and solid waste will both be collected on Wednesday, the 6th. And we did a call yesterday on the new containers being delivered. We'll do one, I think, at the end of this week or first next week, about Public's collection of the old containers. And then we'll do another call about the change in schedule for that first week in July. So now that we're starting to get into that hands-on notification to make sure that people are aware of what's going on to the best we can. When I say a call, it's the Blackboard Connect, the Elon Connect. Phone call, text, email. It'll be up on our website. It'll be on our social media. Some people will be getting a letter. We don't live locally or in rental properties, that kind of thing.
Okay, thank you. And then lastly, we don't have many public here, but for you guys and everybody out there, we know what's happening with the recent school shootings, and Alamance County is trying to be active in having conversations about what does school safety look like. So I just encourage everybody to try to go at the table, especially us elected officials, try to put ourselves in a position to continue these meetings and look at it as a multifaceted way of safety. And we want public's input, and if we don't have much public here, but we're still the public, and we all have kids or had kids, and so I think it's something we need to make sure we try to make a point to be involved in these conversations.
So 2 of the worst phone calls I've ever received in my life. One was a very close family member who I don't want to say who it is. A homicide officer called me to tell me that they had been shot. Thank God, even after 5 bullets from a random shooter, that loved one survived. The second worst phone call I've received is from my daughter this year at Western Alamance High School. There was a gun on campus and she was hiding, and they were locked down. This isn't just happening in Uvalde. This isn't just happening across the country. It's happening here at our schools right down the street. And so I need to echo what Gwen has said. I've talked to Rich. Something that I would like is, I'm never going to blame a first responder in what happened there. But what I would like to see as a parent and as a council member is what is the plan of action throughout the summer with our first responders, because there's so many layers that happen between our sheriff's department, our university's police department, and then our own first responders here at Elon. Who takes that first step? Who's going to be there when something, God forbid, hopefully never happens? But I think that we need to have those conversations, and we need to know what the plan of action is. And I think all of us as parents breathed a sigh of relief when school ended this year. I know I did. I literally said a prayer when my child came home that last day. So going forward this summer, I would love to have these conversations more and have some sort of plan, operational plan, that we know who responds, how they respond, to the degree in which we can, that obviously we wouldn't share with the public, but that we have something in place.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, Rich has already reached out to me about that. You know, I can do a PowerPoint presentation. Like you said, there's a lot of layers. I think conversations are probably better. But I will facilitate that and whatever platform that works for you guys. Always reach out to me with questions. We know how it works internally, but you're right. You need that comfort to know that these things are in place. And just to let you know, everybody is going. Everybody would go. It doesn't matter if it's Western High School, we're going. The sheriff's office, Burlington, anybody on duty is going to that site. We'll work out the rest later, but we train on this constantly. And I'm happy to share some of that and just some viewpoints and let you know logistically, this is how it looks. Obviously, it'll be organized chaos, and that is worse. You know, that's probably one of the worst things about taking this job is knowing that responsibility, there's no more passing the buck. You know, we have to train for it. I'm responsible. And as a board and as a town, we all carry that burden. So I'm happy to share, have conversation, whatever will ease your minds and make you feel better about that. But I share your sentiment.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Sorry to end on a bummer.
No, that was a good.
Mark can do that.
Mark, it's all up to you.
Good at that.
You gotta bring it back up. You gotta bring it
Was
back
that-
up now. It's your turn.
What you shared was a really important thing.
I totally agree, and it's a shame that we live in this society. That's the problem, not just in the schools, but in workplace violence. We're preparing that in our work now. You know, it used to be like, okay, you're just preparing for active shooter or bomb threat or anything like that. Now, I mean, it's a reality, and it's a shame, but I think we do have to be prepared. So I'm glad, you know, I'm all on board for doing what we can do to make things safer. And thank you, Chief, for your comments there. Also wanted to congratulate Kathy. Appreciate, I know Rich is happy and to have some folks come in and one right under his nose. So congratulations and thank you, Mr. Shaw, for coming tonight. I appreciate your interest in our town, and we do appreciate that. I think we said at other meetings, nowadays it's hard to find volunteers to people who come out and care, so we appreciate it very much coming out. That's all I have. We have a motion this time.
Oh, I would just say, tomorrow, the university is hosting, and it's open to the public, an annual community concert picnic at noon out near the library, right off Haggard.
Shade trees.
Shade trees, yeah, don't bring long sleeves or anything of the sort. But yeah, there's a band and there'll be some food available, but people are gonna sit outside. But that's our annual event planned before the weather. There are some summer movies in the theater across the street. I think all that went to the newsletter. Thank you, Diane.
So it's open to the public then?
Oh, yes, definitely.
And free popcorn.
No charge. What's free? Oh, the movies, free popcorn, yeah. But those are free as well as, and the movies are all sort of middle of the day also. All this is middle of the day. So, and tomorrow's concert.
You have kids groups that come into that, or if they're depending on the movie?
Whoever would like to attend, yeah. And the other thing I was gonna make sure to tell you is Campus Alamance is up and running this summer, which is this second year of the internship program. Students who want to be interns and stay in Alamance County for the summer, maybe work for the town of Elon, that kind of thing. And so there are 40 students who are working, the university pays the stipend, but that are working all across the county in for-profits and nonprofits, so.
And we have one here.
I was remiss. Audrey Sloan is our campus Alamance. Campus Alamance.
Campus Alamance.
Campus Alamance intern for the summer.
Welcome, we're glad you're here.
I think you've normally seen her sitting over there with her notepad.
The only other thing I was going to tell you is Rich and I met with Mayor Sharp and President Book last week.
6th.
And we had collected reports from the 6 or 7 committees that had started right at the end. Was that about a year ago? And so good progress from these groups that are meeting from the town and the university in terms of we continue to meet weekly and we submitted a report, but the safety and security report, so the Police and Beyond, the Neighborhood Coalition, which I think wants to change their name to Community Coalition. And that's folks, students and residents coming together to talk about how it's going, living nearby.
And economic development.
Planning and economic development, and what are we forgetting?
Well, we co-opted the Downtown Advisory Committee.
Yeah.
And then my meetings with Janet, the one-on-one committee meetings, so.
So those will all continue. That all came from Monty and Davis, sat with a few of us and Rich and Pam to come up with what would be the committees that would make sense. So that's going well.
Just following up what Dr. Stein said, Campus Alamance, I've had a chance to work with those students. And it's just such a great program because it does 2 things. One, it helps local businesses that can't afford to pay an intern. And it's equity and equality for the sense that students that really need to get paid in order to have an internship are having those opportunities. And 3, I should have said 3, and they're staying here during the summer, which really gives them a sense of community and being a part of this community, not for just 9 months, but for 12 months. And so I just really applaud the university, you know, because, and also Dr. Stein, all the people that have played a part of it for initiating this program and getting it off the ground, because I know how difficult it was, but it's great to see you here in a different capacity. So
One question. It looks like you're pretty close to finishing the engineering school, aren't you?
Very.
Will that be
Next
open?
month, we hope, before August even.
Ahead of schedule, isn't it?
Yeah, I think maybe it's right at the beginning. I mean, it'll depend on, finishing and certificates and all that, but it's really doing well schedule wise.
That raises just a really brief question. That is, how close are we to Haggard water line? Is that anything that is going to happen in the next few months, or is that going to happen like later?
The design work is taking place right now.
There's a lot of markings up and down
Yeah.
the sidewalk there, and I was thinking, does that mean we're moving or we're that far along? So
Design work is taking place. The work we are planning would be for the latter half of 23 into 24, and then DOT would be doing their repaving project the summer of 24. Ask them to postpone so we can dig up the road, and then they'll come away and pave it. So,
okay, so it's still a little ways out.
and it's a long-term project, yeah. I will say, we are also doing smoke testing right now.
We did get
It's a non-toxic, it's harmless colored air, if you will, that we pump into sewer lines and we see where it comes up. And that tells us that we have leaks into our sewer lines. And we know we have leaks into the sewer lines because when it rains, our flows go up. So we're identifying multiple locations where we have leaks. I know they fixed one of them already. And we are anticipating a major project related to this to sleeves inside a couple of our major sewer lines. We'll seal them up so that we're not leaking water into the line. It's not a question of sewage getting out, it's water getting in. So hopefully over the next couple of years, that project will be moving toward completion, which will be nice because it'll reduce our flows for treatment to the Burlington plant, reduce our costs.
Dr. Stein, I didn't mean to skip over you.
You're fine. Thanks for coming.
And I do appreciate you coming and being an advocate for the town and on with the university. Appreciate you being on the downtown committee. I always enjoy Other comments or questions? Motion to adjourn? Second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Stand adjourned.